All right, get ready, because today we're taking a deep dive into a topic that's truly mind-bending.
Machine unlearning.
Yeah, you can almost think of it like
Yeah,
like trying to teach a dog a trick
right.
and then realizing, oh, that was a bad idea.
Uh-huh.
And now you're stuck trying to make them forget it.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what researchers are trying to do with AI right now. And we're going to unpack this groundbreaking research paper that's really tackling this challenge head on.
Yeah, it's called CLEAR, Character Unlearning in Textual and Visual Modalities. And I think one of the things that's so interesting about this paper is that it focuses on how to remove information about specific people
Oh, wow.
from AI models.
So, like, think about all the personal data
Right.
that AI systems are processing these days.
Exactly.
Like, what if you wanted to be totally forgotten?
Right.
This research is exploring how to actually make that happen.
Yeah.
So, where do you even begin with this?
Yeah.
How do you make an AI unlearn something
Yep.
without totally screwing up its ability to do everything else?
Yeah, it's not like you can just hit delete, right?
Right.
It's a very delicate process, almost like removing a brick from a Jenga tower.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
One wrong move and the whole thing collapses.
The whole thing collapses, exactly.
That's where this clear data set comes in.
Right.
What is that all about?
So it's basically a benchmark data set that is designed specifically to test these different unlearning methods, especially when you're talking about AI that can process text-any images,
Okay.
just like a lot of the AI in the real world.
Right, so it's multimodal.
Exactly.
Now, to really make this a controlled experiment, they actually created 200 completely fictitious authors
I know, it's pretty cool.
with AI-generated faces and backstories,
Yeah.
and even book titles. They went all out.
Yeah, they did.
So why go through all that trouble?
So by using made-up data, they could ensure that the AI model couldn't cheat and just pull information from the real world.
Oh, that's smart.
Right. And within this data set, they have these 4 different categories of data: forget, retain, real faces, and real world.
Okay, break those down for me.
Sure. So the forget category is all about making the AI unlearn information about specific authors,
Aye.
while the retain category is to make sure that it can still remember information about all the other authors.
Okay.
So it's kind of like testing its memory.
Gotcha.
Then there's real faces, which uses photos of actual celebrities to see if the AI can still recognize faces in general.
Even after it's been told to forget about those fictional authors.
Exactly.
And then real world.
Real world uses everyday images and questions just to make sure the AI's general visual understanding is still intact after the unlearning process.
I see. Okay, so they've got this really detailed data set.
Yeah.
It's almost like a virtual training ground for testing out these different unlearning methods.
Exactly.
So did any of them actually work?
Yeah, so they tested 10 different unlearning methods, and they applied them first to AI that just processes text, and then to AI that just does images. And then finally, they combined them into a multimodal model that does both.
To see how they would perform.
And what they found was that unlearning gets a lot harder when you have multiple types of data involved.
That makes sense.
Right. It's one thing to try to erase a name from a text document, but what if you keep seeing that person's picture?
Right.
The AI might still be able to put 2 and 2 together.
Exactly.
Now, when it came to the text-only unlearning, a couple of methods really stood out.
Okay.
One was called IDK tuning, which basically tricks the AI into thinking it never knew anything about the target author in the first place.
Oh, so it's like giving the AI selective amnesia.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I like it.
Another promising method was DPO, or direct preference optimization, which is sort of like nudging the AI's preferences away from the information you want to remove.
That was a more subtle approach.
Yeah, a little more subtle.
Interesting.
But here's the thing. Some methods were actually too good at unlearning.
What do you mean?
They would wipe the slate so clean that the AI couldn't even answer questions about authors that it was supposed to remember.
Oh, wow.
It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
So it seems like even with these advanced techniques, it's a very careful balancing act.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that the AI forgets the right things without losing valuable information in the process.
For sure.
So what about the image unlearning?
Yeah, so for the image unlearning, the AI had to first learn to recognize the faces of these fictional authors,
Okay.
and then unlearn them.
Right.
And a couple of methods, Sexy RB Bio and Twins, emerged as the most effective.
Okay.
And they basically update the AI's understanding of those faces in a way that makes them unrecognizable.
So it's like scrambling the visual code for those faces so the AI no longer recognizes them.
Yeah, exactly.
Fascinating.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
when they combined the text and image data into that multimodal model.
Right, the one that's more like real-world AI.
Yeah, that's when things got really complex. Because they found that unlearning just the text wasn't enough.
Really?
Yeah, the visual information was still kind of lingering there in the AI's memory.
Oh, wow.
It shows that for truly effective unlearning, you have to address all the ways AI might be holding on to information.
So this research is showing us that we need unlearning methods that can actually handle the complexity of real-world AI, where you've got these multiple data types interacting all the time.
Exactly.
But wait, there's more.
There is one more thing we have to talk about.
Oh, this is what I love about these deep dives, the unexpected twists and turns.
Yes, so while they were testing these methods, they found a simple tweak that actually dramatically improved the performance of a lot of the unlearning techniques.
All right, I'm intrigued. What is it?
It's called LoRA regularization.
Okay, break that down for me.
So think of it as a way to make small, focused changes to an AI model
Okay.
without having to retrain the whole thing from scratch,
Okay.
like a fine-tuning tool. And what they found is that by adding a little bit of this regularization to the adjustments, they could actually prevent a lot of that catastrophic forgetting that we were talking about earlier.
So it's almost like adding a stabilizer to that Jenga tower.
Exactly.
Keep it from totally collapsing.
Yeah, a perfect analogy.
It's amazing how these small tweaks can have such a huge impact
I know, right?
on the AI's ability to unlearn what it needs to forget, but still hold on to valuable information.
Right.
This is huge for making machine unlearning more robust and reliable.
Totally agree.
So we've covered the basics of machine unlearning, this amazing clear data set, and we've seen how researchers are testing out these unlearning methods and refining them. But this is really just the tip of the iceberg.
It is.
We need to dig deeper into the implications of all this research and understand why this matters so much for the future of AI.
For sure.
So stay tuned, because in the next part, we're going to explore those implications in more detail.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of machine unlearning.
Yeah, last time we were talking about how to make AI forget specific information.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was just blown away by this whole clear data set and how effective some of these unlearning methods are.
It's really promising stuff.
But I have to ask, why is all of this so important? What are the real-world implications of this?
Well, one of the biggest implications is for AI privacy.
Okay.
I mean, think about it. We are generating more data than ever before,
Right.
and so much of it is so personal.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be great if you had a way to ensure that information could be truly removed from an AI system if you needed it to be?
Yeah, it's almost like a digital version of the right to be forgotten.
Right.
That we're starting to see in data privacy laws.
Exactly.
But instead of just deleting data from a database, we're talking about erasing it from the AI's mind.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
That's a game changer.
It really is.
So imagine like an AI model that was trained on your medical records
Right.
or your financial data. And if you later decide you don't want that information used anymore, machine learning could offer a way to make sure it's really gone.
Exactly. And as AI gets more and more integrated into our lives, healthcare, finance, education, this ability to control what AI knows about us becomes super important.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not just about individual privacy, though, right?
Right.
I'm thinking about the potential for this technology to address some bigger issues.
Oh, yeah.
Like bias in AI systems.
Absolutely. That's a crucial point.
Yeah, because we know that a lot of these AI models are trained on these massive data sets that reflect existing biases in the real world.
Right.
And that can lead to some really unfair and discriminatory outcomes.
Totally.
Because it perpetuates those biases in automated decision-making systems.
Yeah, and that's where machine unlearning could be so powerful.
Yeah, how so?
Well, it could give us a way to actually mitigate those biases by removing or reweighting the problematic data that's driving those unfair outcomes.
Well, okay, I'm following you.
So, for example, if you have an AI model that's used for hiring decisions, and it's trained on data that historically shows a bias against women in certain roles, it might keep recommending male candidates, even if they're less qualified.
Right, it's perpetuating the bias.
Exactly.
Wow, so machine unlearning could actually help us unlearn the prejudices of the past.
Yeah, I love that way of putting it.
It's not just about erasing information. It's about refining the AI's understanding of the world to make it more fair, more equitable.
And that brings up another fascinating aspect of all of this.
Okay, what's that?
The philosophical side of things.
Oh, here we go.
Because the very idea that you can erase someone from an AI's memory is kind of mind-boggling.
It really is.
I mean, it raises all these questions like who gets to decide what an AI forgets?
Right.
And what are the consequences of manipulating an AI's knowledge in this way?
Yeah, what could go wrong?
It's a powerful tool, and like any powerful tool, it could be misused.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yep.
It's got this potential to enhance privacy, promote fairness, and make AI more responsible, but it also raises concerns about manipulation and control.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why it's so important that we're having these conversations now, because as the technology develops, we need to make sure that we're staying ahead of those potential issues.
So it's this balancing act between the benefits and the risks of machine unlearning.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're really just scratching the surface here
We are.
with what's possible with machine unlearning and what it means for the future of AI.
Absolutely.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, there's another thing we need to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Something that could really impact how we approach this technology moving forward.
You're talking about the limitations, right?
Yes, the limitations, because as promising as all of this is, it's not a magic solution.
It's not.
There are still challenges, and we need to be honest about that.
We do.
So in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to take a closer look at those challenges. What are researchers still struggling with?
Right.
And what needs to happen to make machine unlearning truly effective A&D responsible?
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on this incredible journey exploring machine unlearning.
A technology that could completely change how we think about AI and data privacy.
It's a tool with so much potential to, like, reshape the very foundation of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like any powerful tool, there are limitations.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And we need to be honest about those.
We do.
Because it's not as easy as just hitting a delete button and making the AI forget.
Right. And in this final part of our deep dive, I think we really need to talk about those limitations.
Yeah, the hurdles, the challenges that researchers are still working to overcome.
Exactly.
What are some of those?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges is this issue of control and accountability.
Yeah.
Who gets to decide what an AI forgets?
Right.
Is it the individual whose data is involved? Is it the company that created the AI? Or maybe some kind of regulatory body?
Yeah, you're getting into some pretty deep ethical territory here.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Because we need to have some really clear guidelines and safeguards in place
We do.
to prevent this technology from being misused.
Right, because it would be so tempting to exploit.
Right. Imagine, like, a corporation that uses machine unlearning to erase evidence of wrongdoing from their AI systems.
Oh, yeah.
Or a government using it to manipulate AI-powered archives to kind of control the narrative of history.
Exactly. And those are not just hypothetical scenarios.
No.
Those are very real concerns that we have to think about.
So we need rules. Right.
Many rules.
Clear rules about who can request unlearning, what types of information can be erased, and some way to audit the process to make sure everything is transparent.
Right. Transparency is key here.
Yeah, because without that, machine unlearning just becomes this black box
Exactly.
that could be manipulated for all sorts of bad stuff.
And it's not just about preventing misuse either.
What else is there?
We also need to think about the broader societal impact.
Okay.
What happens to our collective knowledge, our memory, if we're constantly erasing information from these AI systems?
Yeah, it's almost like a digital version of book burning.
Right.
We could lose so much valuable information, historical records, cultural knowledge, if we're not really careful.
And there's also the danger of creating these kinds of echo chambers within AI.
Oh, how so?
Well, if different groups are constantly unlearning information, that challenges their worldview.
It could lead to more polarization in society.
Exactly.
So it seems like machine unlearning is kind of this paradox, right?
It is.
It's got this potential to enhance privacy, promote fairness, make AI more responsible. But it also comes with all these risks.
Huge risks.
That we really need to think carefully about.
We do, because it's a reminder that any technological advancements are never neutral.
Right.
They always come with these social and ethical implications.
And it's up to us to grapple with those.
It is.
So it's not just about figuring out the technical stuff. It's about having these bigger conversations.
Yes.
About the values that we want to embed in these technologies.
Absolutely. What kind of future do we want to create with AI?
Right.
And how can we make sure that machine unlearning is used to advance those goals?
Yeah. And these are questions that require a lot of collaboration.
They do.
Not just between the researchers and the developers.
Right.
But policymakers, ethicists, and the public too.
Everyone.
Because the future of AI is being shaped right now.
It is.
And it's up to all of us to make sure that it's a future that reflects our shared values and aspirations.
Absolutely.
So to all of you listening out there, stay curious, stay informed, keep asking those critical questions.
Because the choices we make today will determine the kind of world we create tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.